Hi, welcome to Candor Beach, where we bring to you our take on world events and how they impact consumer psychology in India and around the world. I'm Ashish, a management consultant and marketer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sailesh. I deal with financial instruments, especially lending.
Right, so Sailesh, what are we talking about today?
So, we're going to talk about the immersive experiences use cases, like in different industries, what kind of products they use, and how well it impacted consumer psychology.
Right. So here's a funny thing, man. Like you're wearing white, I'm wearing black. It's almost like a chess set sort of setting. So throwback to ninth or 10th grade, I think that was when that was the only time we played chess.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, long time ago. Damn.
Yeah. All right, man. So what have you seen so far with respect to AI? I know we talked about immersive experiences on our last pod. Um, we talked about the definitions of what AR, VR, and MR constitute. I feel like you wanted to throw in an extra one there today, XR. I don't think we touched upon XR. I'll let you get to that. We are also going to go over some examples of the headsets. I think that was something that we didn't have time to touch upon last time around. We'll talk about the headsets. We'll talk about whether it's consumer friendly, how the industry is shaping up, particularly considering that Apple is launching its foray into immersive experiences. Some use cases in healthcare, in what have you, like gaming. We'll be going over those aspects. So without further ado, Sailesh.
So let's start with healthcare, right? So there is this there's AR glasses which are called Accuvein, right? So Accuvein actually helps phlebotomists. So let's say if you, a lot of people, there some of the veins they are not visible. So Accuvein, the phlebotomist can wear those glasses and actually find the veins which are deep embedded into the body. So it's easy for a
How
phlebotomist.
does that work?
So basically, the glasses which you wear has an infrared scan. So it scans through your skin, and it'll actually show the embedded veins inside your body. Some people, let's say if you're injecting blood, some people can't find their veins near their elbows. So certain types. Because they're deep embedded and maybe an higher level of adipose tissue, I mean fat tissue, will cover up the veins. So on a headset like Accuvein, what it does, it runs the infrared and exposes the vein exactly. So when you puncture using the needle,
Needles.
it actually works flawlessly. So that's one of the very good use cases in healthcare industry.
I'll tell you this, in my experience, like even if people can see the veins, I've had people miss. Like
Um,
my skin, I don't know if you can tell through the camera, but it's like
yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
there is there. Yeah,
People have missed. I've had people miss
that's
twice
just
in
lack
a
of
row.
experience, man. You always went to phlebotomists who didn't have good experience, probably.
Yeah, man, absolute noobs.
It
Yeah,
it
so you were talking about one other use case, like before we started this. What was that? Something about eyesight.
so there's some another two like AR headset. It's called New Eyes. It's one of the most expensive one. I think we looked it up. I believe it was some $10,000. Oh
$13,500.
man, yeah, it's the most expensive, much more expensive than Halo lens. However, this is something, it helps vision impairment, people who have vision impairment. So some people, for example, one of the cases which can be used for that is like, you probably heard about people who have color blindness.
Yeah.
So what happens is certain people are they cannot see a certain spectrum of color. So that particular spectrum of color can be accentuated using another color, using these glasses. That is one of the vision impairment help. There are
That's
normal glasses, actually. There are glasses for colorblind people,
yeah.
which already do the job, but this actually takes it into consideration the augmented reality part. So let's say you're not able to see a color, and the augmented reality actually processes that color. Let's say you cannot see blue or red. The chip actually processes the color as yellow, but projects it as blue for you to see it. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a technology which is that's why it's worth $10,500. So that's
13.
one of the impairment which it can help. There are legally blind people. They're legally blind.
Sorry, did you say legally blonde?
No, not blonde, blind. you
Okay.
you remembering Reese Witherspoon now?
Perhaps.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
legally blind people are not. They're legally blind, but they have like a little bit of vision. Like
Sure.
so
Yeah.
so basically, an ER headset can actually accentuate the viewing capacity.
Right. I mean, you were talking about new eyes, and I figured that maybe we could do a quick dive into some of the headsets. And so here we are. You have New Eyes AR right there at $13,500. You also have a 13 megapixel resolution, which is insane considering everything else. I
Yeah.
don't know how these converts to MPs, so I'm just going to pretend like I understand, and I'm
So
going to
I
be like,
believe
yeah, that's amazing.
the 2400 one, the HCC Vive Pro, that comes out to be 4K, I guess. But the field of vision is also very important. So
Yeah, sure.
like let's say for example you've been doing playing a game and you have 100-degree field of vision. You can actually lock in certain, like if you're playing for example I remember playing Resident Evil on VR headset, and you can lock in your field and you can look back and the field is locked, so it actually helps you play a very very interactive game.
It's
That is,
very immersive, I imagine.
yeah. So
Right. So, what system do you use for Resident Evil?
I believe it was long back. It was the Sony PlayStation ones, I guess.
All
The one
right. So the
from the
PSVR. The
oh yeah
PSVR is missing on this
yeah
list.
the yeah, you have it in the list right there. Sony
Do
PlayStation.
I?
Yeah,
Oh yeah. All right.
fifth
Fair
one.
enough. Sorry, my bad. I might need the New Eyes AI.
The fourth one. The
Clearly
fourth.
missed
Yeah,
reading the yeah.
but
All right. So yeah.
but when it comes to AR, the I think personally the industry lead is the X-Real AR.
When I looked up the X Real or when it was the N Real, it cost $380.
Mm.
This table by Bard, which is experimental, says that it's at $1,300. Is that accurate?
No, it's not accurate. Actually, I looked it up on Amazon, um,
Yeah.
Amazon.com. No, don't go that way. Just go to Amazon.com. It's sold on Amazon.
There you go.
So,
$380.
yeah, $380. So it is actually, it's the math
So
on.
comments to AI. I know we're not talking about AI, but guys, Bard's prices might not be accurate. A HoloLens is accurate. I'm sure some of these are accurate, but yeah, don't go by this. This
Actually, you
isn't
got to look at
sacrosanct.
experiment, Bard experiment.
Yeah, yeah.
They're gonna fix it soon. So
What are your thoughts on Apple coming in with their AR headset?
Um, Apple, I think, see the Apple when it comes in, it's more about the integration into the system itself, like the ecosystem itself. So that is one thing about Apple. It's Apple will
You're
take,
talking about the Apple ecosystem?
yeah.
No, I would say let's start by talking about adoption. What do you think are Apple's chances of high adoption? or
depending on
whatever
the
reasonable
I
adoption
would
is.
say everything is depends on the price. So look at Apple adoption of the headset. How many people are really adopting it? How many people are like look at the
I
AirPods,
don't follow.
the
You
headset,
said
the
look at Apple's
five hundred
headset.
dollar headsets they have, the Apple.
Oh, you're talking about the. Oh, okay, okay. You're talking about
How
the
much of
AirPods
adoption did
Max.
they have with AirPods? Compare that with the big headset, the boombox headsets they have. I call them
You're talking
boombox
about
because
the AirPod Max. That's what you're talking about.
yeah, the AirPod Max. So how much of adoption did they have compared to the AirPod Pros? So massive difference. So
No, what is the relevance? So last week we talked about Rogers' diffusion curve, the diffusion of innovation curve. So we talked about how innovators form like a roughly 2.5%. Then you have your early majority, early adapters, early majority, late majority, and laggards, right? So I think early majority is about 34%, late majority is 34%. Again, like roughly, and early majority is about 13.5% or something of that sort. So you don't have a huge chunk, and this is going to require a certain degree of innovators adoption. So I don't know how much you're going to expect. So
oh,
considering all of that,
pricing, pricing.
everything's down to pricing, you're saying.
Yeah.
But what about from a use case perspective? Like if it has fantastic use cases, if it replaces, like some of the use cases we wanted to talk about or we've discussed in the past was like a stock trader. They're no longer going to need you're no longer going to need four screens. If you live in a confined space, uh, you aren't going to need to set up a very expensive or a large uh, screen real estate space, because you are going to be able to just plug in these glasses and you're sorted. So you have those use cases. You have use cases in education. Yeah, I mean, I could be watching movies on a 130 degree, on a 130 inch screen or a 201 inch screen, depending upon some of these examples, just lying down. I'd be very comfortable doing that. And if I have to pay $1,000 for it, like my iPad, I think I don't know how much the iPad costs. I don't remember,
I think you
but
can do that with
this and the
$380.
yeah, iPad.
No. The watching the 130 inch screen on X-Real.
Yeah. So if it just costs me, say, anywhere between $300 to $500, isn't that reasonable? Like, it's my entertainment setup, it's my work setup, and it's just down to a pair of glasses. Doesn't take up any physical real estate, minimal physical real estate.
What
So
my
wouldn't it be worth the price?
what
What are
my
your thoughts, sir?
comprehension will be, what is really gonna Apple bring to the table?
You
There
mean
are
the
headsets.
differentiator?
Huh?
You mean the differentiator?
Yeah. What is it gonna really big difference from? So there's already HoloLens, there's this Vive, there's MetaQuest. What is it gonna? What Apple is gonna bring to the table with
I think
VR?
no, I mean, we don't want to convert this conversation entirely towards Apple, but I'm going to try and address that. Apple has a customer base that is very in tune with the brand. Like what I'm trying to get at is there was this study where people talked to Apple loyalists and non-Apple loyalists. What they found was that people who are non-Apple loyalists just disliked Apple as a brand. They didn't care for Apple as a brand. They didn't feel strongly about rival brands like Samsung, as an example. But the people who liked Apple loved Apple. So if the brand launched something, there was high consideration. The willingness to pay was at a certain degree. I'm assuming that's what is going to be activated. Like when I launch an Apple product, you have this consumer base that can be readily activated because they're Apple loyalists. I have three or four Apple devices sitting in front of me, so I'm likely to want to. I am going to consider it for sure, like no matter the price, because shouldn't go with that. Like I am going to consider the price. I wouldn't want to pay like another $3,000 for it. But I would have a high range for the product. I think that's what Apple has going for it.
I think what what Apple has in the bag is the integration perspective. So it integrates very well with the already existing ecosystem, right? So we already said this previously. Like for example, you have an iPhone and a MacBook. So the AirDrop is phenomenal. Like
Yeah,
integration between Apple products and their use of the same iOS system actually going to bring in a lot of
they're
revenue.
not all iOS, by the way.
Exactly.
iOS is just the phone.
I mean, I'm just saying the iOS is just the phone, but the integration perspective, the
I get what you're
software.
saying. Yeah,
So
they speak to each other. The
that
devices speak to one another.
so Android, you have glitches. So yeah, Samsung's nice, but the ecosystem on a Samsung is nowhere comparable to an Apple ecosystem. The Apple has a flawless ecosystem. So uh, go ahead.
Android isn't. Samsung doesn't make Android though, right? That's
Yeah.
the issue.
So yeah. So they have to still work with Google, who owns Android, to make all their products. So Apple, what is good about it? They make the software and they make the hardware. So which is which works very well for them.
Right. So to Apple's credit, I think we should switch to the other use cases. But
Yeah. So
to Apple's credit, so they have their software working for them. There's low risk of that changing because the governmental risks aren't going to be like with HTC and Android, where HTC, because by virtue of where it wasn't able to recruit Android's newer OSs. Samsung, I think, will risk the same thing because based out of Korea. Apple ecosystem strong, loyal fan base. Those are the reasons why we think Apple is likely to make a strong dent in this and maybe usher us into a realm where AR, VR, MR, XR, whatever is the norm.
and another point, when it comes to consumer psychology, they
Mhm.
already have this Apple feeling. Like their Apple's going to bring a very good quality product. So that is the psychology perspective with regards to Apple, right? So they have a proven record of providing good technology.
Sure, they have a proven record. Let's not talk about Apple Air Power and how it was announced and never launched.
Let's
But
see. Let's
moving
see
on,
how Apple comes out. So
moving
yeah,
on. Yeah.
moving on. Go ahead.
Yeah, so what other use cases do you see? Like, I would say with VR, you can create virtual worlds, and the advantage of virtual worlds is tremendous. One example would be in terms of training. There are lots of institutions out there that are exploring training examples. One example I think that you had brought up earlier on was Boeing with upscale Skylight, I believe.
Yeah. So that is actually not VR. It's more of AR. Boeing
Oh, okay.
actually, there was this article. They actually cut down all their, like errors which they had when they
Say
were
that
doing.
again, please. They
Say
cut
that
down
again.
what?
So basically, Boeing used to have a lot of errors when they manually used
Errors.
to
Okay.
connect the wiring system in these aircrafts. So they had to go through rewiring, rechecking, and all this quality control work. So, however, when they adapted these, this called skylight ARs, so they would actually project the where the wiring would go and which socket does it connect to. So they literally got rid of all the errors. They went from having a lot of errors to zero errors, and actually boosted a lot of their efficiency and saved a lot of time for Boeing because they could come up faster, get those aircrafts done. On the line, on the industry line, faster. So that is one of the major use cases which can be used in the aeronautical engineering sector.
The example that I was thinking of, and maybe I should have clarified with you about the glasses earlier on. With VR, what I was thinking of was pilot training. That's something that eh, I'm hesitant because there are aspects that I'm not supposed to talk about, but I have with strong reason to believe that that is a use case that is being considered if it hasn't already been launched. Pilot training. Xtal was used to Xtal is a headset again, a $6,200 headset that was used to train the military. So you have these use cases where, and there are other people, other businesses that are considering training once again, where they are looking at creating VR environments and training, so let's say doctors, let's say training pilots, let's say training engineers, training the military. So VR training, solid use case. Another
So
example that sorry.
I would add on to that. So the Excel. So a similar, there was a movie we actually spoke about. Remember, it was American Assassin. They
Yeah,
actually trained this guy using AR assisted glasses. So he's just a normal guy, and he gets combat training using VR. They didn't say what kind of headset they were using, but XTAL can be the new combat training AR headset, which can actually provide haptic. I mean, they should also. I believe XTAL also comes with haptic sensors, so they can actually.
I don't know if they come with haptic sensors. I'm not sure, but there was talk of eye like there was talk of tracking, hand tracking. I
Yeah,
think
hand to
that
eye
is
motion,
something the
right? Hand
headset
to eye
does.
tracking.
Yeah. Yeah, but haptic is something that is a relevant use case within the space, but I think you need a separate device for that. There was another use case that was interesting. We were talking about movies last week, like movies with VR and an immersive experience there. So I found out that over the week that there was a video game there have been video games and there are more games being created with AI being instilled into non-playing characters. So picture that like a combination. You are in an immersive environment with AI-powered NPCs. So you are actually having conversations, like real-time conversations with these people in an immersive environment. You could craft your own movie, your own custom movie. It would be like what was that Netflix show? Black Mirror. I forget the name of the
Oh yeah,
episode.
Black Mirror. Yeah. So
There was a specific episode which had multiple endings. Like you could have that as the norm at some point, combining AI, combining immersive experiences, and that leads to again like entertainment with immersive experiences is going to be phenomenal. It's the future. It is definitely on the horizon. You've talked about healthcare already. You've
yeah.
talked about education and training.
So
What else comes to
in,
mind?
with regards to the pilot training, right? So the pilot
Hmm?
training, so they use what do you call the what is that, NTSC, or the national, the US one, they have this. So for example, they use AR systems, and actually see how, let's say there's a flight crash, right? So it was in that movie with Tom Hanks, um, where they actually find out how well, if you could actually bring the airplane back to the airport. So let's say within this certain set of parameters, the you have to fly back, and you have this much amount of oil left, gasoline left in your aircraft. What's this weight? And they use this, but then one of the
I
biggest.
didn't get any of it. What do you mean? What did they use?
So basically they virtually check, let's say the flight crash, the in the movie actually talks about it. It's actually a true life movie, um,
Hmm.
and basically they see if the flight can come back to the airport with loss of two engines.
So you have telematic sort of systems, I'm assuming, that gives
Yeah.
you this
So,
information.
but one of the bigger problem is, um, the movie actually talks about, basically Tom Hanks acts as one of the Sully, the flight
Oh,
pilot,
okay. All right. You're talking
Captain
about the
Sullenberger.
Hudson,
Yeah,
landing on the Hudson.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. So that movie they actually conduct simulations to see if the aircraft can come back to the airport, and almost every time they do, without basically before Sully tells them the conditions of how to come back. Before that, every time they did it, and they were able to bring the airplane back. But when Sully said, it's actually a fantastic movie. I would say everything these simulations using AR in airplane industry, and it has limitations. That's what I'm trying to get at.
But like that particular monologue had limitations. No
Yeah.
offense.
No, no, it's okay. So yeah, it has limit. I understand what you were trying to understand, where I was getting at. So even VR and AR, in the industry use, they have limitations. So that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, so there we are, I say we are, not virtual reality.
Yeah,
We are entering a new realm. We are going to be building upon these technologies, and it is going to get better. We haven't got a solid foundation just yet. I mean, like, by that I mean, like, we haven't hit critical mass. We are not close to hitting critical mass just yet. And there are very expensive solutions out there at this point in time. You have solutions like Nreal, Xreal, like Xreal, I believe was called Nreal at some point. You have Oculus that is now better. You have there is consolidation, there is shopping and changing. It is going to improve. It's not there yet. We are still looking at innovators. We are still looking at the early majority coming in and then telling the rest of us that, all right, well, we've tested the waters. They are solid use cases. It is ready for market. So we are going to have to wait for that.
agreed. So with regards to, I think we should have another great episode with regards to how.
We haven't finished this one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not denying it. I'm just saying, we should have another great episode with how AI integrates with immersive technology. What do you say?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I feel like with regards to personalization, AI is going to help us greatly with immersive experiences and AI combining, pardon me. You are going to have exactly that, like strong personalized use cases. I was thinking at one point in time, like when the metaverse had just come out, like when talk of the metaverse had just come out about a year, 2 years ago, I was thinking about a scenario where you start shopping in the metaverse, and because you are in a virtual world, the data, your experiences can all be personalized. Like based on your data, your experiences can all be personalized. So imagine like walking into a grocery store. The items that you care about, the items that you primarily pick, they're all like close at hand. They're right there, or they come up to your cart and you can just like discard it, like toss it out and they disappear. Like it improves your experience tremendously. And once you make that purchase in your virtual environment, they get delivered to you in the physical environment. Like that is what I was picturing. Like when you and I enter a store, like back in the day, marketing talked about how you had to place colors, like specific colored objects in a specific space, or the fact that certain brands had to pay a certain amount to feature at a certain location. Like people
Island.
bought shelf space. Yeah, you might not require that anymore, or that's just dramatically going to change in like when the metaverse comes into full force, if the metaverse comes into full force. That was what I was picturing. That was what I was hoping to see. I know it's slowed down. Like we've been talking about this for the metaverse for 2 years and we haven't got it yet. I think AR seems like it's in pole position to make the most impact. We've already got apps like, I think we talked about IKEA last week. We talked about a few other apps which allow you to see objects in your environment right now. So AR, I think, is in the lead. But yeah, I would really like to see the scenario
I
where,
think I'm a bigger proponent of AR than VR.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
VR is AR.
yeah. It's also alphabetically it comes first, right? So obviously.
Anyways, so
All
yeah, so
right. Do you have any other use cases or do you want to close?
um, I believe we've covered all of them. We
We've
spoke
covered
about
all the use cases, ladies and
basically, yeah,
gentlemen. Like,
whatever
do not think
whatever
about
we
any others.
discussed today. So yeah,
I mean, there are other use cases we haven't talked about. Like, think about live concerts. We have had live concerts in metaverse environments over the lockdown. I think Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande had explored those. We've
there was
had a
a live
lot of interest.
concert on Fortnite game too.
Yeah, Ariana Grande did it on Fortnite, I
Yeah,
think.
so yeah, that was an immersive experience.
I don't know. I didn't attend.
Kind of
Did
an
you?
immersive experience.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would say that we are at the start of the curve. Like we're just about to set out into a very disruptive new future. We are going to rely on the likes of Apple and hopefully Microsoft and these other companies to make a dent. Valve is for sure going to make a dent. They have a strong customer base. Microsoft has a strong customer base. Yeah, exactly. Uh, Sony has an incredibly strong customer base. Let's see what
Sony,
they are able to
what
do.
I like about Sony, it actually meant well with the system. Like Xbox, it really doesn't have its own, virtual reality headset. Sony has its own virtual reality headset, so it actually integrates well with their system.
Yeah, but that's because of the. You could also argue that that's not the positioning that Microsoft was exploring with the HoloLens, right?
Sure, but they don't. The Hololens really don't. They don't tag it along with their Xbox kit. This is a whole
Yeah,
different.
Microsoft's, in my opinion, primarily focused on, or has so far been focused on, the Office suite, the business suite.
Yeah.
They have Microsoft Mesh, which is also like enables these Office experiences. We will, and gaming is a massive industry. We will see Microsoft coming up with its own solutions for sure. Like if they haven't already, they are for sure going to come up with them. All
Yeah.
right, closing thoughts, sir.
Closing thoughts. It's gonna be explosive. I think we have to talk about another podcast, XR, extended reality. It's
Oh,
a
we completely missed that. We completely X that.
we'll talk about it in another episode. We'll talk about XR is basically the congregation of VR, AR, and MR. So we'll dive deeper in that into XR in another episode.
Sounds good. I feel like I was concluding for the last 3 to 5 minutes, so I'm going to just quietly say, see you guys on the next podcast. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Goodbye.